What's up, guys? Welcome to Mike It Yourself. For today's video, we're going to replace the inner tube on the Fatboy in the rear tire. So we're going to have to pull this tire off, get it up on a table, pry the outer, or break the bead, pry the tire off, at least one half of it, pull the old tire out, the new tire in, put the new tube in, and then put it all back together. So I've done this on a ton of bicycles. I've never done this on a motorcycle, right? So if you don't know, wheels or rims that have spokes in them they're not sealed. So you've got to run a tube in them. So you may have tubeless tires, but you can very much have a tube in the tire, right? Unless you know for sure your rim is sealed. So with my front rim, this is the 60 spoke wheel from DNA wheels, and that one is sealed. So I don't have a tube in there. That I know. I bought that aftermarket, so I'm very much aware of that one. But on these ones, so I've got the original rear 16-inch. I've also got the front one over there in a bag. But for this one, when I did have the white walls put on or replaced, I did have to buy tubes for it. And as well as there's like a liner to cover where the spokes go through, because there's like a little twist nut, and you want to protect from any kind of pinching. So you got to have one of those as well. So like I said, we're going to pull this thing off, get it on a table. We're going to pop off just one side of the tire to give us room to be able to pull that tube out and then put in the new one. So once we get there, or once we get it off, I want to share a little bit of a story with you that is quite a surprise, and we'll have to see what this looks like as we pull this thing apart. All right, so let's talk about why we are doing this. Like, did I just get wild hair and decide I want to swap out an inner tube because of no reason at all? Or what happened? So let me tell you. The other day, well, often, because of my community, they cut the grass or whatever, I've got to move my bikes because they sit right on the grass line, and I want the guys to be able to, have room so they can edge and all that kind of good stuff. So in the process of doing that, the Fatboy felt pretty sluggish. I paid no mind to it, put it in the garage. When I went to move it out, I noticed the kickstand, it's pretty low, but I'm standing the bike straight up and the kickstand's still touching the ground, which is not the norm. So I thought that was odd. That was kind of, strike one, right, kind of thing. I went to roll it back. It felt a little bit tough. So that's kind of strike two. And then the third one is I have a little kind of bump stop in my garage. And when I went over it, you can clearly tell something wasn't right. And what I found is a nail going into this tire, and it was leaking. So not a bad leak. It would take about a day or so to go down, but enough to where it's a problem, right? So because I had forgotten that this was a tubed tire and not a tubeless tire, I tried to plug this. So if you don't know how to plug a tire, it's not a hard process. They sell these kits. They have T-handles, or they have like a screwdriver handle, and basically it's like this little piece of rubber that you may or may not put glue on. You're going to puncture the hole, clear it out a little bit better, and then you put this plug in, right? And you pull it out and you're done. Well, I tried to do that on this tire with the tube inside, and I am an absolute wizard because I plugged the tire and the tube at the same time doing it that way. That is not how you fix these things. So just so we're clear, that's not a good thing. It's weird, right? And so I'm surprised the tube in here hasn't failed because it's not made to have a hole in it. So I think over time, as it's expanded, it should start to tear. So I haven't ridden my bike because of that reason, but it's actually held there. I'm very, very surprised. I don't know how I was able to manage doing that, but I did. And at the end of the day, I've got to make this right. So that's why we're replacing the inner tube. But I just kind of want to share that story with you, is if you're out on the highway. So if you're like me, I carry a tire patch kit in my vehicles and on my bagger. That one's got the non-spoked wheels, right? So it doesn't have tubes in it. I can patch that on the highway as long as it's not like a side puncture or a total blowout, right? But if you get a nail, it's something you can plug up. I also have an air compressor that I keep with me, so that way I can inflate it, right? Because it does you no good to plug a tire that stays flat, and then it gets you back on the road if you had to, right? Because nothing sucks worse than being stuck in the middle of nowhere waiting for a ride. So anyhow, that's kind of the story behind this. The biggest part of this is somehow being a knucklehead, I was able to plug the tire and the tube at the same time. So now what we need to do is we've got to deflate this tire. And the way we do that is by removing the valve stem core from the valve, and that'll let the air out. And once that's done, we're going to get some tools and start getting at this. But we've got to figure out two things. Well, actually, one thing. We got to figure out how we're going to protect our rim, because the way you pop these tires off is using a bar, basically. They call them spoons, I believe. So you have to use this spoon, but that spoon kind of uses as a pivoting point your wheel. So they sell plastic protections for these things. I ordered them. They didn't come in, so I canceled my order because they weren't leaving, and that's just bad luck for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to leverage some duct tape and make some really thick kind of rolls that I can use to pinch in between those spoons and the rim so I don't damage my rim. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace it with a Drag Specialty inner tube. Now, another point that I need to make is, depending on your wheel, when you buy your tube, you need to make sure you get the right one. So there are some center stems. So a center stem means that it actually sits right in between your spokes. So if your tire is a tube tire and you have your stem in the middle, then that's a center stem or center valve, depends on what they say there. On mine, you can see it's off to the side, so mine's an offset. So make sure you pay attention to that when you're buying your tubes, so that way you get the right one for your application. So let me go ahead and pull this valve stem out, deplete the air. That's no fun to watch, so we'll just make that happen. All right, so you saw a little bit of work that had to be done to break that bead. So that's a little bit of a pain. But if I squish this down, I can see in here, I can see my tube. And so that just proves the point that there is a tube in here. But now at this point that the bead is broken, I can actually take this spoon, and I got two of them. And what you want to do is kind of get it in, and you're going to leverage it to get that, pull that out, right? So it's not easy. It's going to take a little bit of work. And as you see, this is where it starts pivoting on your wheel. So what you're going to want to do is I'm going to use this duct tape that I rolled up to allow myself to sit up against that instead of the actual rim and damaging the wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that out. It's going to be a little while, so I'm not going to record that. That's going to just take some time to do. All right, guys, so I've got the bead broken. I had to break the bead on the other side as well, so that way I can get some lift off of this, and undid the little bolt that holds this. So when you do your shopping on the tubes, it's TR4 or 6, I believe, and that means it's the threaded. And then again, depending on your application, you may want a rubber stem or the steel stem, up to you. But now I have enough room here where I can go ahead and access the tube. So I'm just going to push that through. And as soon as I get it through, then I can pull that out. And again, never done this before, so this is all a huge learning experience for me. Really need to put something in here to help kind of hold this tire up. But yeah, it's been interesting. It hasn't been very difficult at all, so that's a plus, I guess, right? And again, hopefully my experience here will help you with yours. And I wonder if this one gonna go across there. And you'll be able to do this yourself. So I need to find something. I'm thinking I can use this as a bridge and put something that will go across that will keep this lifted up. That'll allow me to grab that tube and pull it out. And then that way we can go ahead and get the new one in. And again, if you've done this on a bicycle, that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm trying to do it like I was doing a bicycle wheel. So I've got the tube out. Here's our culprit. You can barely tell. I mean, you could see that it's a little goofed up, and that's actually probably from me when I did the plug. So I didn't actually plug into the tube itself, but I guess I was putting enough pressure against this little pinhole that it wasn't allowing it to leak. So, I mean, it's nothing, right? It's little. I could probably patch this with just a regular patch. I didn't know what this was going to look like, so I ended up just buying a whole new inner tube. But what I am going to do is I'm going to hang on to this bad boy because I can patch this, I'm going to do that, and then put it aside. And just in case I get another flat, I have a spare tube that I can always throw back in. So that's a win for me. I'm going to go ahead and get the other tube prepped for installation. And it's kind of everything in reverse order, so to speak, with the exception of, reseating the bead. One thing that, I thought would happen is, yeah, absolutely, like I could shift the tire around. So it's so important. Mark your references, and some of them moved. The tape moved on me, but I did also use a white tire pencil to kind of mark where the valve stem was, which would ultimately lead me to the same thing. But, I wanted to take multiple approaches to it, so that way, if one failed, I had a backup plan. So let me go ahead and get the new tube in, and or at least get it prepped, and we'll go through the reinstallation process. All right, so I've got the new tube in, and so the way I did is I put a little bit of air in it because you don't want it completely flat, because you want to watch out for is as you're stuffing it in there that you don't twist it up or anything like that. So you got to look out for that stuff. Once you get it in, you have to kind of do a little manipulation of it from the backside to get it through the hole, and then you're able to put that nut on. I kind of leave it on just a little loose so I have some play as I kind of maneuver the wheel on. But now at this point, what's going to be important is, or what's going to be the pain really is getting this tire stretched back over. So it's, like I said, it's the reverse process of taking it off. What I do recommend is getting some soapy water to help lubricate it, and that makes it easier to get the thing on. It's going to be a pain in the process. I'll record it so you can see what it looks like. It'll be high speed, but
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Yeah, there's There's no mercy in this world, just hunger-thirsty persons in different versions. Each new update, that shit worsens. Why? Pull back the curtain and you'll see the different vermin. We all have different burdens that all seem to cause disturbance. Yo, so do me a favor, don't treat me like a neighbor. Don't need the different flavors of your problems just to savor. I've got my own issues, I need a comb to get through. Don't need to groan with you, just go get your own tissue.
I feel like I'm losing my mind.
All right, so you can see, like I said, no qualms about it. This is the biggest pain in the butt. So I've got to figure out like another method. I've got to try a different approach, because the approach I'm using right now, using clamps and those tire bars, it's just as I kind of round one area, it's coming up on the other area. So I've just got to figure out kind of how to keep tension on one side as I get this up. And really, I shouldn't be running into problems as far as it being kind of a tight fit until I get closer to the end. So there's obviously a better way to do this, because I'm running into issues way too early. So let me figure this out, and yeah, see what I come up with. All right, guys. So I got to tell you, this was freaking tough, man. And so the way I finally got it done, it was I had to do it little by little. And as I went along, to keep the tire from popping off again, I zip tied it along the way to make sure it wasn't coming loose. And when I got to the last section, I had to convince it a little bit more with a rubber mallet, and was finally able to get it, you know, with a lot of soap and water too, to slide right into place. And I'll tell you what, I got it done. I probably saved myself $50 instead of having a shop do it. You know what? I've been in here a couple hours. It was probably worthwhile just to take it to the shop and pay the $50. So lesson learned, right? Like, again, that's what this is all about, is learning what can you do, what can you not do, and then looking at, like, what is it worth doing it, right? Because, you know, some things just aren't worth it. Maybe you value your time more. Like, you'd rather not spend 3 hours of your day trying to put a stupid tire on, or whatever it is, right? Like, so yeah. But at this point now, what I can do is I can go ahead and tighten up the little nut on the valve stem here, and I've got to cut these zip ties off, but I can go ahead and do a tire inflation, make sure I don't got any hissing sounds or anything like that, and then we put it back on the bike. So even though it was a lot of hard work and frustration, mission accomplished. Got it done. So let me get these things off, and let's throw some air in here. All right, so I got my zip ties off, and now I'm filling it up with air. The other side of this looks like it's all lined up with the rim. It's kind of rebeaded itself, or yeah, resealed, whatever you want to call it. It's different because it's not the tire filling up, and you know, it's the pressure of the tube. So I've got one little edge here that still just needs to happen, and I'm just kind of adding in air little by little, waiting for that pop to catch me off guard and scare the bejesus out of me. Okay, so it's come on, tire. So this tire is supposed to be filled up to 40 psi. So I'll kind of just, you know, mess around with it here. You know, don't know what to expect when it seals, other than probably like I said, a pop that's going to scare the bejesus out of me, but that's kind of the norm. Oh, there we go. There you go. Okay, so now the bead is sealed. It's all good to go. I've got 29 psi, so I'm going to go ahead and now crank this thing up to 40 psi. I'll probably do like 37-ish to be real. My white wall is a disaster right now on both sides, so that's something I'm going to spend some time cleaning. So first we'll get this thing on the bike, and then we'll clean up that white wall while it's still up on the jack, because that'll be the easiest thing to do. and I'll show you what I use for that. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and fill this thing up. All right, so I'll fill this up and then we'll get it down and kind of get it ready for the bike. All right, so we've got the wheel back on. That's all ready to go. And now I just want to kind of clean up my white wall a little bit. I've got to wash the bike in its entirety anyways, but while I have the opportunity, I wanted to, go ahead and clean the white walls a bit. And I wanted to share with you what I use to do just that. So it's a combination. This is just some Blue Dawn and water. And then this is really what really brings it out, and that's Black Magic's Bleach White. So this is tire cleaner. This is for white walls, is what they call it out for. And then I like to use a drill gun with a brush, and you can get the kits with multiple like brushes in there, so you can figure out how strong or soft you want the bristles. Another thing you can use is a Brillo pad, so the green Brillo pad. You just kind of scrub on it. I just like to be able to just do it really quickly with this. So let me just show you really quick on a small piece of tire or part of the white wall here. So you just kind of put that down. You don't need to go on the highest setting for your drill gun because it's gonna fling stuff all over. And then you just take a rag and you wipe it off. I mean, you can see how much cleaner just by doing that, right? So that's just a quick tip there for cleaning your white walls after you dirty them up. But makes life a whole lot easier if you have a drill gun and just take your time on a jack to get it done. So I'm going to knock this out, and then we'll lower it down and we're back in business. All right, guys, next morning, and everything's good. It's holding its air like it's supposed to. That means we didn't pinch the tube or anything, putting it back together. Overall, it was not a complicated job. It just took a little bit of manpower, a little bit of elbow grease to get that tire on. Lesson learned from that is if you can get three spoons to put that tire on would be much easier than just trying to use the two. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. Like, getting it off of the rim wasn't too bad. It was just getting that outer portion on that really caused the struggle. But once it was on, it was easy street from there. So at the end of the day, I think if you get like practice at it a little bit, it's not a hard deal, and you don't have to go buy one of the fancy setups. I mean, does it help? Sure, but you can do it without it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up. If you enjoy my content, become a subscriber. And if you don't want to miss out on that next video, hit the notification bell. You'll get the ding ding when the next one posts. And until the next video, I hope to see you in the win.